Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching the F&O Show on BloombergQuint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
Good morning, Navneet. I'm Agam Akil. Let's take a look at the headlines. Indian markets open with steady gains. The Nifty is back above the 12,200 mark. All sectoral indices gain while the volatility index is down for the third straight day. Open interest is rising in Mindtree and Page Industries. Mindtree sees fresh longs while Page Industries sees a lot of selling. Speaking of Page Industries, it is witnessing its biggest fall in 8 months after it saw volume degrowth of 2.8% in the third quarter. And Vodafone Idea has jumped over 10% in today's trade as it's reported a 6,400 crore loss and raised doubts about it continuing as a going concern.
All right, those are your top headlines at this hour. Let's quickly tell you what's happening with the markets. After some bit of selling pressure which came in yesterday on the weekly options expiry, we are seeing recovery coming by. In fact, though we are off the high point in terms of the opening high levels, because Nifty did touch levels of about 12,246 to 47. Remember, 12,250 will be the first resistance, the first hurdle that the Nifty has to cross. So we've come off from those levels. Sensex sitting with gains of about 73 points. Nifty Bank, which underperformed yesterday by falling nearly 0.8%, has also bounced back. But this one has been trading below its 50 DMA for a really long time. And Nifty Bank is also facing its resistance around the mark of 31,500. Volatility is cooled off, so that's a positive sign for the bulls. 13, I guess, very comfortable levels in case markets were to scale higher from here. Pull up the broader markets too and check whether they are also moving higher. Yep, mid-cap, small-cap indices, both are in the positive territory, and the market breadth should also come up on your screen, giving an indication, yep, as of now, it's in favor of the advances, but the gap is narrowing definitely. Okay, what levels to watch then for next weekly expiry in terms of maximum open interest concentration? You've got the 12,200 call and the 12,000 put strike. So that's the range we've been watching out since last week. Remember, we crossed 12,200 this morning. We're trading above that mark, but we've not seen any unwinding coming in on the 12,200 call strike. In fact, there is fresh addition so far of about 2.5 lakh shares, while the 12,200 put has seen significant riding in trade. Almost 12 lakh shares have been added there. So positive cues coming in as the 12,200 put is seeing some bit of riding. But I guess you need to wait for the call riders to start unwinding their position at the 12,200 level. And then probably we can see 12,300 on the upside again.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at all the stocks which are in focus today as well on the back of change in open interest, and I'm sure there are a lot of them. Of course, Page Industries and Mindtree, case in point in this case. So, but we do have Vodafone Idea, which is, of course, advancing. Even though there has been some pressure when it comes to profitability, it's advanced by around 14%. But we must remember that it's a relatively smaller priced share, which is why the tick size is large and hence a substantially larger movement in terms of the percentage gains. Mindtree is the other one which is in focus, is up 3%, and Page Industries on the other hand declining on, well, very weak earnings coming through, especially on an operational front with volumes declining. Apollo Hospitals and SRF among others which are also advancing in trade today, looking at fresh longs. What about stocks which are seeing unwinding in trade? Not too much to speak for at all. In fact, only 2 stocks for now looking at a decline, and that's marginal. So for now, I reckon focus will remain on earnings, the last leg of earnings, in fact, and of course, a lot of these stocks which are seeing a rise in open interest in today's day of trade, Navneet.
Yep, and ONGC is the Nifty company which comes out with its numbers today, so keep an eye on that one. But on the show today, we will be discussing few stocks with our technical experts, and Agam already highlighted Page Industries. The stock has slipped below its 50 and 100 DMA this week, and we are seeing signs of fresh shorting coming by. And Mindtree is up for the second straight day. Futures are indicating fresh long positions here. And Apollo Hospital has had a very good move. The numbers also look pretty strong. It's touched its fresh 52-week high, and on year-to-date basis, this one's gained nearly 20% so far.
All right, and on that note, it's time to get in our experts. But before that, here's a reminder: if you have any queries regarding futures and options markets, you can call us on 022-454-0141, or of course, write to us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube with the AskBQ hashtag. Today we have with us, joining in just in some time, Ruchit Jain, and for now we have Hemen Kapadia of KRChoksey joining us on the show. Hemen, good morning. Thanks for joining in. The way forward, Nifty is at 12,200, at least that's where the spot price is. How would you trade the indices now?
A very good morning to you, Agam. Thank you for having me. I think like Navneet mentioned, the 12-2 range is probably just on the cusp of being broken out. And like you mentioned that till there's no short covering, we don't see that 12,300. But the way I look at it, 12,220, 230 technically is important. We sustain above that for at least an hour or so. I think we'll see short covering coming in and we'll come closer to 12,300. Lower wicks at 13 is also helping. The bank nifty remains a bit subdued, but I would be neutral. I wouldn't be neutral. I would be cautiously optimistic because we are at a traditional resistance area, and we haven't been able to make much headway from these levels despite multiple attempts. We did go to 12,300 plus, but sustainability above these levels has turned out to be historically not very much. So I'd be cautiously optimistic. If 12,150 holds in the near term, I think I would remain positive. But if 12,150 breaks, I would be neutral.
So let's see where we are headed from these current levels of 12,200. I mean, that's the view in the index. But in terms of individual stock futures for this afternoon, are you recommending anything in trade?
Yes, I think yesterday's move suggested Pharma and IT, and I think that is sort of spilled over today. So frankly speaking, I have two stocks which I think look good. One is a contra trade. We spoke about it earlier. It hasn't performed. Metals is doing a bit, but Tata Steel is strangely silent. But yeah, I still feel a bounce is around the corner. So buy on Tata Steel at 440, stop loss 435, target 450. And the other one is ICICI Pru, Navneet. We've had a 4-5 trading session decline. We're oversold. The early indicators have given a crossover buy. The stock looks set for a bounce. So buy Pru at 480, stop loss 474, target 492.
Okay, so those are two long calls coming in from Hemen. A long call on Tata Steel, and yes, he's been positive on this one for last few days. And the other one is on ICICI Pru, the only insurance company which is there in the futures and options market. All right, let's get going and start taking views on certain stocks which are moving around this morning. And one of them is, of course, Page Industries, your biggest F&O loser for the day. The numbers have been disappointing. Technically, if you look at the stock this week, it's fallen below its 50-100 simple moving averages. And what happened in the numbers, I think the major dampener came in the form of volumes decline of nearly 3% versus a growth of 13%, which was seen in the corresponding quarter of last year. Futures trading at a discount, open interest is up about 12%. I mean, I'm not too sure, at least on the option side, they've not been very active, maybe due to the numbers in the stock, the sort of stock movement we are seeing on Page Industries. It is today active on the future side. What levels do you monitor here? Is there more downside left? Because as I can see on the charts, it's also approaching its 200-day moving average.
Yes, and like you mentioned, options are not active, and most of these expensive stocks, expensive in the sense high price stocks, now the options are not very active. This bearish gap today is not a good sign. It doesn't augur well for the market. This is not a thumb rule, but market tends to try to cover up the gap. So I have a feeling that after the sell-off that we've seen today, like you said, the 200-day, plus this strong support around 21,800, we went to 21,600, but we have not closed below 21,800 on the weekly chart since December of last year. We are at supports. We've come off from 26,800. I would not short the stock right now. And if I think in the next few trading sessions, if it stabilizes, and yeah, if we don't break today's low for the next 48 hours, I think this gap that we've seen, the bearish gap, Page will at least make an attempt to cover it. Will it get covered? I don't know. First, the gap will provide resistance. Two, if it covers up, I think then the downside potential reduces. But as of now, it's oversold. I wouldn't be too bearish. It's not a long, but it's definitely not a short.
It's not a long, but not a short as well. And as Hemen highlighted, watch out for today's low, which can be the next support. And today's low was about 21,600. And from those levels, the stocks recovered about nearly 380 points. It's at 21,980 right now. All right, let's bring in Ruchit as well. Ruchit Jain, technical analyst of Angel Broking, who joins us on the show. Hi, Ruchit. Good morning. Take us through your top calls right now on the index as well as stock futures.
Yeah, hi, very good morning. Well, in last few trading sessions, we have seen that after the markets gave that V-shaped recovery in 1 week, the index now seem to be going under a consolidation phase. Well, nothing much to worry about. The consolidation phase just seemed to be a time-wise correction because we have moved up very fast. So I think at least for next few trading sessions, 12,100 to 12,300 would be the tight trading range in which index would tend to consolidate. So since the broader trend is positive, we are advising our clients to use a buy on dips approach. 12,150 would be the good levels to enter fresh longs, 12,150 to 12,100 range. So if we get any intraday declines towards 12,150 to 12,100 range, one should look to buy Nifty over there, keeping a stop loss below 12,080, and we again expect index to head higher towards 12,300. So I have two buyer recommendations. Since we are trading in the range, the primary strategy has been to look out for stocks which are in the broader uptrend and are now trading around their support levels. So Sun Pharma is one of them. We have recently seen a high top, high bottom structure. Prices are trading now near the support of the recent consolidation phase. So the risk reward issue is much favorable. One can go long over here with stop below 412 for near term targets of 440. And Bajaj Auto, today we can see the stock has again resumed the positive momentum from its hourly 200 SMA support. So Bajaj Auto can be bought with stop below 3120, expecting target around 3280 to 3300.
Okay, Bajaj Auto and Sun Pharma are the two stocks that Ruchit is advising today. Let me also pull up Mindtree, which has had a good start. In fact, the stock's up and about for the second straight session today, and this too has been an outperformer, be it on year-to-date basis or last 1 year. As you can see, 3% higher for the spot, and the future is also quite active. Open interest is up about nearly 20%. Hemen, let me come to you for Mindtree. There are signs of fresh long positions which can be seen on the screen today, but would you take a bet considering the outperformance that we've already seen, or the move is done?
The move isn't done, Navneet, but I think it's had a major run from a low of 675 in mid-November to a high of 969.85, and we still continue to do so. So if I were to have a very small sharp trade for a target of around 989, I would do that. But otherwise, no, we've had a brilliant run, and I believe we are in the last leg. But it's slightly overbought, but there is no reversal yet, so it can continue. So I think 989 is my possible target, and if it overcomes 990, then if further unlikely, why I'm saying unlikely is because we've had such a big move, so then our unlikely up move unfolds. So yes, from a very short term point of view, a 10 rupee stop loss, a 25 rupee target is the way I would play it, but it would be a small trade, not a big one, keeping the quantum of the rise in mind. But yes, still seems fine. Short, medium term, we are in an established uptrend, continues to do so.
Okay, and let's take up Apollo Hospitals as well, which is at a 52-week high. Of course, we all know about the kind of strength that the company has seen off late, and it's up as much as 19% this year. And it's come up with a strong quarterly update. Let's not forget, in the recent past, we've also had the promoters reduce their pledges, which is only given the stock an uplift. But that's fundamentally speaking. What about technicals and what are the derivatives action telling you? It's up 1% today, 13% increase in open interest. Ruchit, your view on Apollo Hospitals, how would you play this one?
Certainly with a positive bias. The prime reason, as you said, the recent trend for the stock has been positive, and what we have seen since in last couple of weeks, the prices, when the momentum readings were in overbought zone, the prices showed some time-wise correction, stayed sideways, and again now have resumed its positive momentum. The volumes are good in today's trading session. Open interest shows 12 to 13% increase, which indicates fresh long formations. And if I look at the recent historical data as well, in this January series, we have seen good amount of long positions in derivative segment which were rolled into, and there has been no unwinding so far, no major unwinding so far, which indicates that the earlier long positions are still intact in this stock. So I think one should continue to ride this trend. 1650 would be the support now, so any existing long positions, or even if one can create fresh longs over here as well, with stop below 1650, expecting targets around 1800 and beyond.
Okay, that's Apollo Hospitals for you, which is at a fresh 52-week high today. Let's start taking some viewer queries as well. And the first query today comes in from Tushar, who has a query on SBI on the option side. Remember yesterday when the Bank Nifty was down, you had gains coming in for SBI. So that was an outperformer in yesterday's trade. But of course, SBI has underperformed the other private banks in the last 1 year. So he wants a view on 340 call, and currently the spot is at 330. Hemen, what would the advice be? Would you, if somebody is already bought, and if not, would you advise to stay put or take a fresh bet on the 340 call?
If he's bought, I would say stay put and be at 330. A closing below 325 would spoil the short-term momentum, and keeping in mind that we are 1.5 weeks left for this expiry to end, I have a feeling that we are heading towards 335. So as of now, it's a hold, but just a small caveat. Close below 325 would negate the near-term positivity. No need.
Okay. We'll move on to United Spirits, which has gained quite substantially of late. If you look at the last 10 to 14 odd sessions, and this is largely after it's come out its earnings. Earnings were not that great, but I reckon that there is it seems that the company is turning a corner with respect to its product strategy, as well as market share loss that it has faced over the last 5 years. That is a perception of the market, and which is why we've seen it move from around 625 odd levels to about 700 right now. We have a query here, of course, and the query comes from Anand, who wants a view on United Spirits from these levels. Ruchit, what's your advice to Anand on United Spirits?
As of now, the trend, at least the short to medium term trend, continues to remain positive. On 28th of Jain, we had seen a significant up move in the single trading session, and post then the momentum has been continued, and we have also seen in the derivative segment also recently in this series good amount of long positions have been formed. That long positions are still intact. On the higher side, 725 to 730 could be the probable target areas in this series itself. Now, the stop loss for creating fresh longs would be much deeper from current levels. So I would advise that if we get any minor dips again towards 690, 695 range, use that dip as a buying opportunity, keeping stop below 678 for targets around 730.
Okay, that's United Spirits for you. Let's move on and take another query, which is coming on Axis Bank, I believe, and this one's coming from Raj. According to him, the stock is near its resistance level of 760. So can he look to sell the futures of the current series? It's at 745, Hemen, and he feels the resistance is at 760. What do you see on the charts, and would you advise going short on Axis Bank?
Yes, I think his resistance level is 760. My resistance level is 764. Few points here and there not very relevant, but yeah, he is right, because in the last 4.5 months, we've turned back from the 764 level, and we have never closed above 764 on the weekly chart, Navneet, since mid-July last year. So yes, we are at a resistance level, no doubt, and we are cooling off. So if he's going to sell the futures, or if he's going to sell the call option, I would suggest yes. He needs to keep yesterday's high as a stop loss, and I feel it is a couple of days move, because closer to 735 the downside appears limited. So I believe it's a 2-day call to sell the future or sell the call option. Target of 735, and a close above yesterday's high would mean your stop loss has to get rid.
Okay, there's another query on the Bank Nifty. Hemen, I'll come back to you on this one. We have Venkat Sai, and he has bought the 31,500 Bank Nifty put. And this is the 20th February one, that is this week's expiry, this upcoming week's expiry. And he's bought it at 280. It's currently at 310. Hemen, would you ask him to book profits or exit? Or hold on, pardon me.
To be completely honest, I don't have a very clear view at the Bank Nifty at this point in time. Agam, I'll tell you the logic very briefly. Bank Nifty is given a downward bar reversal yesterday, which is basically a reversal to a negative technical pattern. But after a downward bar reversal, we need the next day to break the previous day's low and go down. Now that hasn't happened. So after the downward bar reversal, it is an inside day, what I mean to say, it remained within the trading range. So it's like a suspense. It could break down, go up. The range of keeping yesterday downward bar reversal mine around 31,600, 31,200. So I'd say if he's making money, take some money home, because still it doesn't decisively break 31,200. The downside doesn't become apparent. So I'd say take some profits and go home.
Okay, that's nifty bank for you. Ruchit had a call on Sun Pharma, and remember the pharma stocks have been in focus. We've seen Divi's, Dr. Reddy's, both these stocks doing pretty well in the recent past. So we've got a query coming in from Ajay Gupta. He wants a view on Glenmark Pharma. Ruchit, Glenmark, of course, if I compare it to the other to its peers, it has underperformed. But in last week or 2 weeks, we've seen the stock moving from those levels of 300 to 330 now. What are the charts indicating? The recovery that we've seen in last 2 weeks, do you think there is more upside left here?
I think just before this recovery, if you had have looked at the correction to the correction at the end of January was also very sharp from levels of around 360 on 28th of Jain. It corrected right low up to 298. So hence I think this pullback move is sharp only because of that corrective phase. No, it doesn't seem to be in an uptrend. So I don't think one should look to do any kind of bottom fishing over here. I think, no, as I said, other stocks such as Sun Pharma, or even which you said, no, DV's left, Dr. Reddy's, which have been outperformers in this up move in the pharma space, I think no, those are much better placed than Glenmark Pharma.
Okay, plenty of questions from Manappuram Finance as well. We'll take one from Karan Pabari, and he wants a view on Manappuram Finance for the February series. Currently at 163, it isn't doing much, not on the spot. Neither are we looking at considerable increase in open interest, though it's up 2%. Hemen, how would you address Manappuram Finance and your advice to Karan?
Well, we are in a short-term downtrend, possibly yes, a medium-term downtrend also. Having said that, we are getting oversold over here. Support level comes in at 162 and 156. So I would not be bearish anymore. If I were to play for a long, since we don't have a confirmed turnaround, if I want to play, I'll buy the 170 call option. Or I closer to 160, I'll sell the 155 or 150 put option. So one, we've been down for 3 weeks. Two, like I said, OI is nothing much. 3, we below the 55-day moving average. 4 indicators are sell, but we are getting close to weekly support levels. And after such a big decline, I think downside would appear limited and a recovery around the corner. So I would watch this level of 160 closely. I would be unpleasantly surprised if there's a bigger fall from here.
Okay, and perhaps the final query, we'll take one from Piyush Patel. He wants to sell Cadila Healthcare. Ruchit, would you advise him to go short on Cadila Healthcare at this point in time?
Not really, because if you see technically, then another stock has seen a formation of high top, high bottom structure. The resistance of this stock was around 280, and if you look in last 4 or 5 trading sessions, the prices have already corrected from 280 to 268, 69 now. We would see the stock again finding support around 262, 264. So just for 4 to 5 rupees downside from here on, the risk reward is not that favorable to create fresh shorts, and hence my advice would be to avoid taking short positions over here.
Yeah, avoid shorts on Cadila. Before we wrap, I just want to address the top F&O gainers. I know there are high beta, very risky counters, and that's Yes Bank, which was up yesterday as well, and Vodafone Idea, which is up about 12%. Yes, it is still in the F&O space. So I just want to address these stocks with Hemen then. Hemen, would you advise taking any bets? And I know these can be risky trading bets as well. Yes Bank is still in the F&O ban period, but looking at the move yesterday, today, would you advise taking bet or a very short-term trading bet on any of these stocks?
Yes, I think so. Disclosure, I have a personal investment in Yes Bank. Like you mentioned, I believe there's second round of positive divergence on the daily charts, Navneet. Indicators are turning positive. We are at 39.50. It's an F&O ban, so I'd suggest buying the cash market because it's extremely volatile. Keep a stop loss of 35. I believe a recovery is around the corner. Like you said, I would also reiterate, high risk, but a risk worth the risk.
Okay, well, on that note, I am going to take a moment to thank both our experts, Ruchit and Hemen, for joining us and taking us through their views on the markets. But don't forget to go through our futures and options pages on BloombergQuint.com.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the F&O Show. Thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned to BloombergQuint for more news and updates.